Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Raven Stokes and I want to say thank you for taking the time to click on this video. As you can tell by the title, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to sew. This is one video that will belong to a video series that's going to walk you through your own sewing journey. In this video today, we're going to be discussing the basics. So how to operate your machine, how to plug it in, how to thread it, how to thread your bobbin, all of those basic things. We'll talk about a few techniques so you can actually get to sewing if you want to practice a little bit. It's going to be the main basis of this video. But throughout the entire series, the goal is that by the end, you will feel comfortable and confident enough to operate your own sewing machine and create your own projects that you're thinking of in your head and bring them to fruition. So whether you're a newbie, whether you've sewn before, whether you want to be a fashion designer or you just want to pick up a new hobby, I think this is the perfect place to be. I'm excited to have you here. Hopefully we can connect a little bit and you find these videos to be valuable. So without further ado, I don't want it to be too long, but I want to talk about tools that you'll need to get started sewing. So tools, let's get into it. So we're going to get started with the basic tools that you'll need to get started. There are quite a few tools that I think you'll need in the beginning. However, most of these can be sold in packs. I have a personal pack that I offer on my website that you can access by clicking on the link in the bio below. Or you could source these tools from any local store, usually like craft store like Joann's, Michael's, Walmart, any type of store of that nature, you can find these things. So as a beginner sewer and even as an expert sewer, these are two tools that you're never going to not need. So you're always going to need your pins and you're always going to need a seam ripper. A seam ripper is going to be very important because this is going to be for whenever you make mistakes. You're going to need to take apart your seam. Sometimes this can be very time consuming and you're going to dread doing it, but this is going to be handy when you have a stitch that you need to take apart. And then pins for obvious reasons. Whenever you're sewing, you're going to need to hold your materials together. If things are slipping and moving around, then you're going to lose accuracy and then things will come out wonky and your stitches won't be good. So it's really important to have pins for accuracy. I like the ones with the balls on the top. However, you can get the ones that don't have a colorful dot at the top. It's completely up to you. It's just preference based. When I'm working, I like color. So that's what I use. And then on to the next, you're going to want a pair of shears or cutting scissors. These are going to be your best friend. You have to cut out your fabrics. We'll talk about the importance of cutting straight lines. It'll just give you a cleaner effect in your work. So if you have a good pair of scissors or cutting shears, you're going to want to take care of them. So I was always taught that you only cut fabric with these. You don't cut paper. You don't cut anything except fabric with your fabric shear. And you'll understand the importance of that because when you spend a good amount of money on a pair of scissors, you don't want them to be dull and you don't want to have, raggedy edged cutting frays and all that stuff. So you're going to want a really good pair of scissors. Then you're also going to want some snippers. These come in many different forms. These are the ones that I was able to find right now, but these are going to allow you to cut little small threads once you're done stitching. You'll see how that comes in handy. Then you're going to want a measuring tape. This is important because whenever you're creating something, there are always going to be a set of measurements and rules that are given to you to create what you're trying to make. And this is not something you can just eyeball. I mean, you can if you've been sewing for a while, but the more accuracy, the better your turnout is. If you've ever spent hours working on something and when you're done, you can't fit it, it's probably because somewhere along the lines, your measurements got off. So you're going to want to have your measuring tape so you can be able to take your measurements, measure your garments, and then also segueing off of that, you're going to want some sort of ruler. I have tons of rulers, as you can tell. For entry-level reasons, I don't know if this many is that necessary, but once you get into pattern making, you're going to want to make sure you have all of the rulers and tools that you need. So, but for now, for starting out, you should only need like a 12-inch ruler, and that should be fine. Then you're going to want thread. Thread is really important because You want to get something that matches what your materials you're working with. I feel like in the beginning stages, working with a color is very important because it's going to allow you to spot out corrections. We're not going for being perfect. We're just practicing in this video. So we want to make sure that we're able to see our mistakes. So I suggest using a bright color fabric for this lesson, but just note that there are several types of thread out there. There's quilting thread, there's nylon thread, there's, heavy duty thread. It goes on and on and on. And you want to make sure you're getting what you need for your project. I mean, for our sake, we just need like dual duty cotton thread. So you're going to want some thread. It's going to be very important that we have an iron. She's on, so she's hot. Ooh. So you're going to want to iron because we're going to learn the importance of ironing out your seams. Those are the small steps that can be kind of tedious, but they really can elevate a garment. They make them complete. So you're going to need an iron of some sort. I got this mini one from, I believe, like Walmart. And I think I got my other iron from Walmart. So you're going to want to invest in an iron. We're going to actually move into the machine itself. So there are several kinds of machines that you can buy. I use a Singer heavy duty sewing machine. I've also used the Bernina sewing machine. I've also used a Brother sewing machine. So I've kind of had them all, and they kind of pretty much all serve the same purpose. I will say this is my favorite one out of all of them. That's just my personal preference. This one you can get on Amazon for about $150. This was donated to me. So if someone wants to donate you one that's in good condition, you could ask around, because usually people have them just sitting around. You'd be surprised. I think this is a good entry-level sewing machine. So get a Brother sewing machine. There's so many that you could get. Yeah, you have to invest in a sewing machine. I would like to go over the actual functions of the sewing machine. Yeah, so without further ado, let's get into it. Okay guys, so now we're going to actually start getting into the sewing machine. I'm going to attempt to give you two different angles, so I'm hoping that this works out like how I think it is. Basically, this is our sewing machine. Few safety things. Right now, the light is off, so the sewing machine is not on. It's very clear to see that it's off. If I'm not using the machine, the goal is to always have this off. You don't ever want your machine to just be sitting on because it comes with a presser foot. There have been times when the machine is on and people are not paying attention and someone steps on this and it starts going. It's just not really good to have this on if you're not using it. So right now the machine is off, and we can turn it on by clicking the on button that sits in the back, and as you can see, doing that turns this light on. So now that we know the machine is on. So just some basic functions of the machine. We talked about our on and off button over here. This is our hand wheel, so you can turn it towards you. You can turn it away from you, and those are essentially doing a front stitch and a back stitch, but you're just doing it by hand. So usually if you're working through like a really thick piece of fabric and you don't break your needle, you can hand stitch, or if you just want to take your time, you can hand stitch to do it at a slower pace. Here, this is going to be important to know. It can vary on every machine, but usually it's pretty universal. This is going to be your stitch length. So most stitches you're going to want to be between 2 to 2.5 inches. Anything bigger than that is going to be a loose stitch. So if I have it on the 4 setting, that stitch is going to be really loose, and 9 times out of 10 it probably won't stay. They call that a based stitch. Or if I have it on 0 to 1, that can be really, really tight, and then those stitches are likely to pop, and then things will unravel, and that's not good. So you want to keep it on a 2 to 2.5 stitch length, and that can vary depending on what type of fabric or material you are working with, which we will get into later. This dial here is going to be all of our different type of stitches. You'll notice that as I twist this dial, this needle is moving. Our needle is here and it's moving every time I pick a stitch. Right now I have it on the straight stitch setting. Up top, this is where you have your bobbin. This is where you sit it to thread it, and then you can push it over. You have a little home for your needle to sit. This is a little bigger than most thread. These are all the tools that help you feed your thread into your needle. Now these settings, I always recommend you just keep them on the basic setting, because this is stuff that's really not going to apply to you too much. Your thread tension is going to be how tight this thread is being pulled out, if that makes sense. And you really don't want to mess with your thread tension unless you're working with like a stretchier fabric, or maybe your fabric doesn't have as much give or pull. That's when you'll want to play with that. If you're having any type of stitch issues, this is going to be your needle position. I don't really ever bother my needle position too much, so you really shouldn't need it for this. And here's some more about stitch width. Here, this is going to be our reverse lever. So anytime you start stitching, you're always going to want to back stitch, and that kind of, what it does is it creates a forward stitch, then you go back over it, and then you go over it again, and that basically is just like tying a knot. Anytime you forget to back stitch, you are risking that seam to come apart. So you always want to make sure you're back stitching at the beginning and at the end of a stitch. So here we have our presser foot. You can unclip it. It looks like this. This is your presser foot. This is what guides your fabric through. If you wanted to see how I did that, literally, there's a little clip back here. You push it, and it is how it comes on. If you push it to lock it, and you push it to let it loose. Then back here, you can see this lever. This is what lets our presser foot up and down. So let me connect this back. So I just literally am dropping my presser foot, and it's gonna connect. Okay. So this is your presser foot lever. This is how you let your presser foot up and down. You never want this to be making a loud noise. It has a spring in it. So if you, I'll do it, but this is not good. You don't want this. You want to let it up and down. Dropping it like that over and over again can cause damage to your machine, and it's just not good. You then have your needle. It's kind of hard to see, but here is your needle. There's a knob here. Twisting it allows you to loosen and tighten your needle in there. So let me see if I can do this. Okay, I feel like when I add this piece of paper behind here, it makes it easier to see our needle. So this little thing right here, this is a knob. Same righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. When you turn this to the right, it tightens it, and it keeps our needle snug in place. When you turn it to the left, it loosens it if you need to change it out for any other type of needle. Now down here is where our bobbin is gonna live. It is a plastic piece that pops out. It has a little thing right here on your machine. You probably see it, and it literally pops out this little plastic template. This is something you're going to want to keep up with. This is the top of your bobbin case. So now that we've taken this out, we've exposed our bobbin down at the bottom. This is why, and I'm going to go ahead and do it now, or I won't. I have my presser foot in my lap. But this is when you're going to want to make sure that your machine is turned off, because anytime you are pushing your hands down here, and that if you accidentally step on the presser foot, this needle will come down and it will stab your hands. So that is not something you want to do. As you can see, I just pulled our bobbin out. It lives underneath there, and we're going to learn how to actually I'm going to take it out for threading purposes. Over to this side, this is like a scissors. It's a little razor, so if you need to cut something, you can do so. I think I covered the basics of the machine, things that you may have questions on. If you do, please comment in the comment section, but I think that was the basics of our machine. Gas me up, give me motivation, tell me where we going, pick it just a minute. Okay guys, I really hope that this is still a good enough angle for you all. But now we're gonna actually get into threading our machine. So my thread, this is just, it says sews all fabrics, dual duty. So we're gonna start by sitting it in our holster. It's living right where I taught you guys. I just put it on our holster. I think it's important to understand what is happening during a stitch. So I'm going to insert a picture visual of what's happening whenever your sewing machine is creating stitches right here. And as you can see, there's thread coming from the needle, and there's thread coming from underneath in the bottom, and it's intertwining and creating a knot. Right? So that's how your stitches are staying. So whenever you get your machine, your bobbin is going to come empty. These can be plastic or they can be metal. First, we're going to place our bobbin right here on this little metal thing on the end. It just pops right on. Then I'm going to take my thread. I've already got it started. And there are numbers on your machine that will tell you what to do. But here, we're just gonna hook it around the top piece. We're gonna hook it here on that hook. Bring it around here twice. So I'm spinning it once. And then I'm going to just put it through the top hole. I'm just gonna put it through a hole in my bobbin. So you can see, just placing it through. Now it's poking out of the top here. And I'm just gonna grab it and pull it through. I'll do it one more time, close up. I'm taking it through the top, just a random hole. As you can see, it's come through the top. And then I'm just gonna place it on my metal piece again. And then go over to the side. Once you click this, if you hear that noise, you're clicking it to the right. That is basically letting our machine know that we're working up here and not down here with this needle. So this is gonna wound this thread on here, and this is not gonna be going up and down because there's no actual fabric there. So that's all that's happening whenever you click this to the right. It lets your machine know that I'm ready to thread my bobbin. And now you're just gonna wanna put your foot on the presser foot. And you might take some practice to get used to your presser foot. And that's okay. And then we're gonna fill this all the way up, or stop wherever you want. This is plenty. And now we have our threaded bobbin. I was telling you earlier that there are numbers that are on your machine that you can follow. You have 1 here telling you to go around this hook, 2 here telling you to go here. Then if you go down here, it's telling you to go from here. 3, take it down. 4, swing it around. 5 up here says swing it this way, and then we go ahead and we thread. So let's do it. First step is around the hook. Then we bring it straight down. It keeps telling us to go down. Swing it around here, 4. Bring it up. You're gonna want this little silver piece to be hanging out the top. And then you're gonna loop it around it. And you're gonna bring it back down. You're gonna hook it on the silver pieces that are there. I'm gonna go in with my snippers because I want this edge to be super straight and sharp. And then I'm going to thread this through my needle eye. And I can't really see from the side, but okay, she's in. And then you pull her down. So now our thread is in, and you just pull it to the back because now it's threaded. I'm going to attempt to do this again, giving you guys a closer angle. Okay, so I want to make sure that I'm not in the way. We're gonna start with the thread up top. I'm following the instructions. I'm looping it around this hook. I'm bringing it down. I'm following the numbers. I'm bringing it around. Silver piece is at the top. Hook it around, and then I just bring it back down. And I hook it around my needle pieces. And then I'm going to thread it. There we go. Then we're gonna pull this through, put it under the presser foot, and just leave it hanging out in the back. Hopefully that was better for you guys to see. So now that our top is threaded, now we have to do the bottom. Our bobbin for the bottom, you want it to be like, I want it to be a number 9, like that. And when you have it in a 9, you lay it towards you. There's gonna be a little silver hook in there. You're gonna pull it through. Okay, so now we have our bottom bobbin in. We have our top thread in. Still haven't put my bobbin plate back on. I'm gonna use my hand wheel to take my needle down. Simple gesture. Okay, you guys can see that my top needle is threaded, right? And then I'm gonna show you guys me putting the bobbin case in again now that it is closer. So I have it in a letter 9, or like the number 9 right now. And I'm literally laying it towards me. And then there's a little silver hook right there. You don't even have to do much to get it to hook, and it goes. And now you have your bottom thread coming out of here, your bobbin, and you have your sewing needle thread. And I'm gonna use my hand wheel. I'm twisting, and you will see it go down and catch that bobbin thread. You see the move? And now there's a little knot there, and all you have to do is pull your top needle thread. And now you have a loop here, and you're gonna pull that loop through, and now you've threaded your machine. All right, so now that we have our bobbin in, and please pause that and take it back as many times as you need to. Now we just popped our plate back in, so now we have a flat surface to sew. There's also another feature that I didn't show you guys earlier that's really good to know, is that this comes off. So when you're sewing sleeves and things like that, you can remove this. It also often usually comes with a little case where you can house tools. We've threaded our machine successfully, and now I think it would be a great time to do our first stitch. Let's go. Okay, so here I just have 2 pieces of 4x6 cotton fabric. We are going to make our first stitch. If you've sewn before, then this should be a walk in the park for you. But something tells me that if you've gotten this far in the video, you probably haven't, and that's okay. It's important to note that in the future, sometimes you'll be working with materials that have 2 separate sides. So this side might be light orange and the inside might be dark orange. You know, same with like your regular clothes. You're always going to want to make sure that you're sewing the right sides together. In this case, it doesn't really matter. So just line up your pieces of fabric like so. And you're going to want to, once you have them like this, we're going to grab our pins and take a few pins, and I'm going to pin along where I'm going to make a stitch. So I'm going to pin this together. I think 3 pins should suffice. You don't want to put too many. And this is what my pins look like. And we're going to sew a seam here. So now I'm going to place my fabric under my machine. Right now my presser foot is up. This little metal piece, this wide lever takes it down. This brings it up. I'm lining my machine up. We're going to sew at a 1/2 inch. So if you notice on your machine, there will be little grooves in there with measurements. We're going to stitch this seam at a 1/2 inch, and that's going to be our seam allowance. So I'm going to lower my presser foot. Right now my needle is up. You're always going to start sewing with your needle up. And I'm going to take my hand wheel and I'm just going to get it started. And I'm keeping my finger ready for this reverse stitch button. And I'm going to go a little bit. I'm going to reverse stitch a little bit. And then I'm going to be good to go. Making sure this whole time that our fabric is lined up on the 1/2 inch mark. Okay, and then I'm going to use this to cut, or if you want to use your snippers, you can get really close and personal in the back. So now you should have something like this. You should have a stitch like this. You can see up here where it's thicker, where we've back stitched, right? And now you should have successfully sewn 2 pieces of fabric together. We're not done yet for today's project. Lastly, we're going to take our iron. First, we're going to call this our right side, because now this is, you see the seam is not facing on this side. This is our inside. So we're going to lay it outside out, inside up. And we're now going to press out this seam. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we now have our first seam. Okay guys, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I want to say you did an amazing job. Thanks for sticking through to the end with me and getting through your first stitch. Feel proud of yourself, reward yourself, practice some more. We'll work on those straight stitches because in this next video, we're going to amp it up a notch. If there's anything you feel like you need more attention on or need to practice more, or you just have a question, please feel free to leave me any comments in the video. Please tell me how I can improve this video. If any angles were weird, this is all new for me and I want to make it the best experience for you and myself as we're learning together. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please practice more. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll be back with more videos. Bye.
The way we move, skin on the skin, no separation, need no competition, nah, nah, nah.